All right. We are live. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Imuna, and I pray everybody is doing well. I came back. A lot of stuff going on, but I came back because we got some good feedback on this David and Saul conversation. And I said, let us continue, shall we? Let us continue as this discussion, hopefully, again, I'll say it in the beginning, it's always for me centered around self awareness, healing, progression. Yeah, that's probably pretty much what it's centered around. And oftentimes we study the Bible as something that is external, something outside of ourselves. Welcome to those who just joined us. We study the Bible as something that's afar off, and therefore we don't necessarily always get the benefits. This is my observance, let me just say, over the years, that people who have been studying religious texts for a very long period of time do not display evidence that this is benefiting them in any way, which is weird to me, because it's like you a soap manufacturer, you produce soap, you make soap, but you don't smell like soap. Welcome to those who just joined us. What's really going on? That would mean in this particular case, we need to get high on our own supply, right? If you're going to take this much time and energy, if I'm going to take this much time and energy, it should show in our life. We should level up to a certain degree. And so my reading of this particular text is just to illustrate some things. Hold on, I have to fix this thing. Last time I realized here on Facebook, it wasn't shared the way that it was supposed to be shared. And then we're going to go ahead and get into, I have an interesting study that I want to read quickly. As we left off last week, that David gets hired to play the harp for Saul. Welcome to those who just joined us. He gets hired to play this harp, but I don't know, and we don't know if he was told that, hey, you know what I mean? Every now and then, it could get a little crazy at work. You know what I mean? So we are in First Samuel 16. We finished that off last week, but I wanted to just do this last little verse right here, because there was a study that I wanted to presently look at really quickly and then move on. So let me go ahead and switch my screen. If you can't see my screen on Instagram, what's going on, Atara? Long time no see. It is because, hold on one second. It is because I'm presenting on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, you can see the screen. Or if you're on Facebook, you can see the screen. But it's all good, because I'm going to read it and then we're going to continue, yeah? The effects of live spontaneous harp. Okay, because last week, this is what it said. And if you missed last week, I'm going to tag it somewhere along here so that you can catch up to the conversation and kind of see the vibe. So 23, the last verse said, and it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul. And we kind of went into that. We went into how evil spirits can be transferred when sometimes, and I guess I'll go into it now, when people talk about generational curses, when people talk about transfers of energy and spirits, these things can be transferred. You know what movie that goes into that? The movie, Fallen. Was it Fallen? With Denzel Washington. That was the name of the movie. And within that, there was an evil spirit that can jump from person to person through touch. There are different ways that these type of energies can be transferred. And sometimes it's not to, get everybody spooky and hoobie-jooby, but the reality is one of the ways that it can be transferred is through touch. It's just what it is. It is what it is. Okay. So but in this particular case, we read that somebody now is going to take over for Saul, which is David. And instead of the covering and the anointing be upon Saul, now there's something that is troubling him, right? It goes on to say that, so he had an evil spirit on him. And there's some people who operate in this way, and you're wondering to yourself, what is wrong with this person? Has anybody ever came into contact with a person that no psychology could ever give enough words to tell you what's going on with this person? A lot of times biblically, this is what they would lead to. They would say it was a demon. They would say it was an evil spirit, right? Today people may say it's manic depressive, it's chemical disorder, it's mood disorder, it's narcissism. It's, today we have all of these other things, but in antiquity, hey man, you got an evil spirit. Anywho, it says that David took a harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. I think that's interesting because, there's a lot of study done in today's space and time. This particular study was from the National Library of Medicine. We're going to read it real quick. the effect of live spontaneous heart music on patients in intensive care unit. So now these people are physically sick, but we do see in the conversation with the servant was the one who was like, Saul, it looks like, you know what I mean, you ain't feeling too right, boss. You want me to get somebody come in here and play the fiddle? You know, in antebellum slavery times, right? The equivalent of David coming in is what they had the fiddler come in to do. The man who would play the fiddle or would play an instrument, the boss would oftentimes hire him or employ him, not necessarily hire, I use that word loosely, to come in and set the mood. So we know that music can definitely change emotions, feelings. It can do a lot of those things. The study is, I tell you what the study was from already, right? And then we're going to get into it. The National Library of Medicine. Okay. So the study was performed to investigate the effect of live spontaneous heart music on individual patients in an intensive care unit, ICU, either pre or post-operatively. The purpose was to determine whether the intervention would serve as a relaxation or healing modality. People like, oh, the Bible, well, you want to listen to the stuff it's saying when a man wrote this article, but it is what it is. So if there's truth and validity to what is being said, then there's truth and validity to what is being said. The text said that David played the harp and it positively affected Saul. So it is the case here, right? So it goes on to say, the purpose was to determine whether this intervention would serve as relaxation or healing modality, as evidenced by the effects on patient pain, heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, and heart rate variability. So it has a physical, because the other day when I came off, I was like, I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole, but I know that each instrument has an effect on different parts of our bodies, right? So in this particular case, it is saying that the harp specifically is affecting the heart rate, respiratory, which is your breathing, blood pressure, and oxygen saturation. Each consenting patient was randomly assigned. So it's like, ooh, he got an evil spirit. And then they random, but not them, these people are sick, but randomly start playing the harp, right? Assigned to receive either a live 10-minute concert of spontaneous music played by an expert harpist or a 10-minute rest period. Spontaneous harp music significantly decreased patient perception of pain 27%. What did it say here? It said David took a harp, spontaneous harp playing, and played with his hand, so Saul was refreshed. Spontaneous. This is what the study is saying. Spontaneously, pain perception dropped by 27. It goes on to say, but did not significantly affect heart rate, respiratory rate, and oxygen saturation and blood pressure or heart rate variability. Trends emerged, although being not statistically significant. The blood pressure increased while heart rate variability decreased. These findings may evoke patient engagement as opposed to relaxation as the underlying mechanism of the decrease in the patient's pain of the healing benefit that arises from the relationship between healing modality, and patient. And it goes in, I'll just leave the link for this study right here. You can look at it. And there are other studies as well, but there's definitely an effect of the heart music or music in general on the body of someone who even may be in pain. Now, this is interesting. The day that I did what was that? Sometime last week. When did I do it? Friday. I did it Friday. The day we did the first part of this series here, Saul and David, I went outside and I had to run some errands. So as I was walking in this parking lot, spontaneously, I can't make this stuff up, I began to hear, I'm hearing this string instrument. And I'm looking around the whole parking lot. It's a huge parking lot, okay? And I'm looking around this whole parking lot like, yo, where is that coming from? I'm intrigued. I just read about, no, I had no spirit on me, y'all, but I was like, I just read about this. And now I'm hearing this very heavenly, beautiful string instrument just playing. And I'm looking around like, yo, where is this coming from? Lo and behold, as I searched the whole parking lot, I'm like, oh, chill, it's coming from this guy. This young man, his father and him had a speaker, and he had his son playing the violin, and they were raising monies, because right now it's crazy out in society. People can't even afford to live, can't afford rent, and so they're outside. And you hear more of that stuff up north. So when you see it come out here, you know that it's pressure right now. And so, and many people were just sitting around and listening and stopping their cars and sharing, because it has that type of effect. So that was a wild and crazy story, but that is a true story. It really does call your attention, especially if the person is skilled and they know what they're doing. Makes you want to stop and engage, or just relax. With that said, let's move on, shall we? Let's continue to look at this discussion and conversation. And for some who's like, yo, Amuna, why are you going live in the middle of the morning? I'm sorry, y'all just gonna have to come get it on the replay. I find that I get sleepy at night. I get sleepy at night. I'll try to do the night. I'm not gonna front. I used to host at night for many years, and even when the show started at 7, by about, my body just starts winding down. So by about 8:30, 9 o'clock, you might get a different variety of Amuna. So when I want to cut up and stuff, I have to do it at night. If I want to be a little more serious, I got to do it in the day. It is what it is. It is what it is, peoples. So my apologies, but not really. We're going to have to find a way to make it do what it do. Because yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see. But for right now, I got to fit this in. Where am I? I'll try like a 6 o'clock one, because right now we're just seeing what time works best. Probably like not even, probably try a 7 o'clock one of these days and see if that works better. Let me know in the description box below. But I'm warning you guys, you gotta get me in the morning. Where am I? 17. So now basically what we've been going over, what we're looking at is, and what I'm trying to highlight is the importance of what comes before. If we're charting our healing journey and we're trying to understand ourselves, or even if we're just charting our wellness journey, or we're charting our relationships or our family tree or whatever it is, it's interesting and important to understand what comes before. Okay. So that we can, for many reasons, it really depends. You have to determine why you're doing what you're doing. And it's really gonna set your methodology of how you go about what you're going about. Now, in recent years, I came to of studying my family genealogy, personal genealogy. What I found troubling over the time is that I was able to, read what the Bible is saying and say, this person got this person got this person. But when it came onto my own personal life and my family, I wasn't able to do that. And so I became intrigued. And over the last 4 or 5 years, before that point, I've just started interviewing, talking to people that I could within my family, getting information. And eventually, after myself and my mother, she helped a lot. My aunt also helped a lot. I was able to trace at least 5, 6 generations back on all sides, not just one side. On welcome to those who just joined us, on the 4 sides, maternal and paternal parents. And that was just, I can't even describe, y'all. So when I'm talking about, I know a little bit about a little bit, you understand? So let's go as we use this Bible study to kind of hopefully see ourselves and our growth and our progression. 17. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle and were gathered together at Shekok, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shekok and Azekah in Ephesh Damim. Ephesh Damim, okay? So again, historically, we will be like, yo, who's the Philistines? That's for another day. But this is very important. Even as we, like I said, putting our own pieces of our life together, who's the Philistines and what relationship do they have to the Israelites in this situation, right? It's giving us, why is the scribe giving us all of these pertinent data? The Philistines, where they were, and who's doing it too. And Saul, and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah and set the battle in array against the Philistines. I find it interesting that Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together. Essentially, he's the army. He's the leader of the army. The men are gathered together, and they're prepared to go into this battle with the Philistines. Okay, in today's space and time, not saying that war is necessarily the answer, but a lot of the men have stepped away from this understanding of collectively coming together to protect something. Oftentimes when there's not a thought of something to protect, like in this case, they were in Judah. This is land. This is sovereignty. You have something that you can take pride in, that you can protect. But in today's space and time, because something of like that is missing and many people are in these very individual pockets, we see the integrity of the males compromised. I'm just saying, but I'll continue. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side. And there was a valley between them. There was actually a YouTube video where this guy goes to this valley to reenact or to see whether or not there was validity to this story. I have to go back and find it because it's very interesting the way that the Bible is describing this valley. When he actually went there and tried to, as what the Bible is about to say, try to see whether or not if you can speak on one mountain, if they could hear you on another, you could. I'll have to go back and find that video. But anyway, and there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath, and of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Okay, so amongst his own people, he was known. Like, this guy, he gets it in, okay? And he volunteers himself. Like, yo, I'll go ahead and deal with this matter. 5, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. This would have had to make you go, woo, woo. You know what I mean? Y'all not only got money, because where did you get 5,000 shekels of brass from? Like, who are y'all robbing along the way? Like, who are y'all taxing? Okay, so this guy, not only was he big, he came with armor and he was protected. 6, and he had greaves of brass upon his legs and a target of brass between his shoulders. But again, he was protected. He didn't just go into battle unprotected, even though, he was the champion of the Philistines. He wasn't the underdog, but yet he still, according to the narrative, he goes in here prepared. Let's see where we are right now. For some reason, the scribe was like, I am about to write on this parchment all of these details so that y'all understand how diesel this dude was and how prepared he was. When you go into your own life, these little details that for us may be like, oh, I'm just reading over, it doesn't mean anything, because it doesn't necessarily translate in today's space and time. Because how much is a shekel and how much is 6 cubits in a span? So let's look up how much is 6 cubits in a span. And, these are the little things. 6 cubits. How much is 6? This stuff I be doing. Cubits, and be looking like this at the computer. And a span. Hold on. 9 feet, 9 inches. They're saying Goliath was 9 feet, 9 inches tall. This huge fellow, okay? This overwhelmingly grotesque individual. He was huge. He was bigger than Debo from Friday, okay? And not only that, he didn't leave it to chance. In being so big, he made sure that all of his body was protected. And if you want to look at certain types of armor and what they're talking about, and you look at other nations around that will be going into battle during this time and really see that there was a whole industry. It's like armies going into battle now. Right? They take pride in, their army machines, their battle machines. So because they weren't necessarily on chariots at this time, although Egypt had chariots, but they weren't on chariot. They seemed to be on foot. He's prepared to go into battle. He got his bulletproof vest on. He got his helmet on. He's ready. Let's see. So 7, and the staff of his spear was like weaver's beam. And the weaver's beam, when they're making the cloth, and this long beam they have where they shoot the thread through and they bring it over like this. So all of these references has to do with the times. And when we're going through our own life, we have to get in tune with the time. We cannot take our present day mind and try to understand the past, because they had all of these different cultural context clues that is lost on us if we try to fit it into our today. So when I was doing certain studies, some of the stuff that you see behind me, I'm like, oh, I gotta get that book and then I'm like, oh, I gotta get that book because what was going on? What was the culture? What was the this? What was the that? So when I go back and read, I'm not trying to misinterpret, or I don't end up misinterpreting what I'm seeing based on what I think of today. I think that's very important as we study anything that is not in the now. Like they wouldn't today, if we wrote down, yeah, so today I uploaded on TikTok. Even 50 years ago, they would have been like, TikTok, you uploaded on time? What's that? Right? There's a whole language and culture that's happening today that if I blink, I wouldn't know what it is. That's how fast everything is going. But let's continue. Where are we, peoples? Okay, so the staff of his spear, like the long part, was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. Like, broski, who was you slaying? Who were you slaying? Puff the Magic Dragon? Like, why did he need all of this? This is a question I'm asking you. That big, just on sight alone, people would be afraid. But you are in here with 600 shekels of iron. That's how much let me see how much his spear. I'm just too dumb. 600 shekels. So he's 9'9", okay, with a weaver's beam for a staff, a spear. 600. Hold on. Shekels of iron in let's see in pounds. 15 pounds. This dude got a small 3-month-old baby on the tip of his spear. Because it's 15 pounds. It says approximately 600 shekels is 15 pounds, fam. On just the tip. Who is he slaying? The Leviathan? Like, what's really going on? This is OD, but let's continue. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine? Like, yo, fam, what are you doing? Are you bugging? And ye servants to Saul? He was like, yo, you're not even on my level. Like, what are you doing out here? What are you doing out here? You're not even on my level. Choose you a man for you and let him come down to me. Like, come through. He said, roll up. He flashed his goods and he told them to come through. Welcome to those who just joined us. We're having a little conversation here on Saul, and at this time we're on the Philistines, but rock with us. You're gonna see where we're going. 9. And if he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants? But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. So we all know that, Israel is not trying to serve other people. And neither are the Philistines trying to serve other people. That person is governing over you in a compromising way, okay? But he's setting the terms and conditions of this here agreement. First of all, they came out. So far, Israel has not spoken. All they did was go out with their army. That incensed the Philistines, incensed the Goliath so much that he came and flashed all his goods and was like, yo, here's the thing. I'll set the terms and conditions. If you could do what if you want that smoke, come through, and then we'll see who's who and what is what. 10. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. 11, when Saul, this is how we get back to the Saul and David conversation. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. In today's vernacular, they were shook. Ain't no such things as halfway crooks. They were shook. Remember, the spirit of the Most High already done left Saul. Okay, so Saul has problems. This is one of the things that we can see within our lives. When we get out of alignment with the Creator, our spirit knows it. Okay, and things that you would never aforetime necessarily be afraid of, when the spirit of the Creator leaves you, meaning when you're out of alignment and you feel unprotected spiritually, this is when fear and all of the trepidation and all of these things come upon us, because we have doubt that came in. We see that illustrated in the story of Adam and Eve. Before, when they was moving through the garden and they was doing their thing, no fear. But when you step out of alignment, you do that which you're not supposed to do. All of a sudden, they in there doing the Louis Vuitton. They in there sewing together fig leaves and making a new collection for Paris Week. You know what I mean? They're in there turning the seamstress and stuff. Why? Because you stepped out of alignment. And that's kind of how that works. Okay, let's continue. And it happens to us all at some point in time. That's my children dropping something. You know, I got the ears. I'm like, what was that? Okay, let's continue. So Saul is shook and greatly afraid. And right now, the harp is not going to do it for him. At this point, it says 12. And now David was the son of that Ephraimite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. And he had 8 sons. And the man went among men from an old man in the days of Saul. What does it say right here? 13. And the three eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of the 3 sons that went to the battle was Eliab the first. Remember, he came to the whole council, but he didn't get picked in midterm elections. Next was Abinadab. He didn't get picked either. And then Shemama, he didn't get picked either. Okay. And 14. So David, or David, he was the last born. And David was the youngest. And the 3 eldest followed Saul. So they're in the army, essentially. Okay. And everybody shook. And David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. What in all of... He was doing the most. So the first day he came, it was like, nah, we don't want no smoke with you, fam. This guy, he comes 40 days. 40 days he keeps showing up. Like, what? Who wants some? David, according to them, he leaves. Because the chapter before says he was the armor bearer, right? He's bearing the armor of Saul. But he goes back and does his job. And 40 days, evening and morning, here comes Philistines. Now, in our own lives, there's something that even if we try to ignore it, even if we're sorely afraid, even if we're shook, we think, oh, if I just think positive thoughts and go within, it's going to disappear. When you open your eyes, that joint is out there like the Philistines. It's out there like Goliath. Every day showing itself to you. You go away, you come back, you go away, you come back, you try to do your job. And every day it keeps popping back out. And you're like, what is going on here? Why won't this thing leave me alone? Why is it tormenting me? Does that not happen? It's either a situation you don't want to deal with, a person that you're having problems with, something going on internally, and you think that if you close your eyes and open them again, and it's a new day, it's going to disappear. And it's not going to disappear until you deal with it. Right? We're getting some soul sessions today. We get some soul therapy today. Let's see here. I'm not going to be that long. Let me see how much time we're running. All right. Where am I? So this guy keeps popping out. I don't know what's really good with him. Where did they go? Oh, 17. And Jesse said unto David his son, take now for your brethren an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp of thy brethren. He was like, yo, they're probably hungry by now. You know what I mean? Go help them out. 18. And carry these 10 cheeses up onto the captain of their thousands, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Okay, go check on them. It's been a minute. I'm hearing what's going on up there. And I mean, this dude keeps coming in and going out. And yeah, go tell me what's really good. And now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. This is an interesting fight, by the way. This fight is interesting. What do y'all do? Take breaks, like time out? Like, is there a referee? Because this is 40 days. Like, how did that fighting go? 20. And David rose up in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth in the fight and shouted for the battle. Y'all make me want to go look up the video real quick of the guy who goes to this particular valley. I think I'm going to do it in a minute, but hold on. It says 21, for Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. Okay. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren. Wagwan, brethren, everything all right? Yeah, me see on the out there fight, me bring you some little things to eat and thing. Make sure everybody all right. Right? He go get the news. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath. So his brothers had a little break and they had an opportunity to talk. So they come out and talk. Okay. And then all of a sudden, here comes Goliath. Like, y'all didn't y'all have, anyway, let me not get off. The Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them. So the same thing he was saying every day, this day, morning and evening, David is out there, and David is like, what up, boy? You just say, well, go, boy. Right? He heard them. And 24, and all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were sore afraid, because that's what they were doing. So he didn't know that his brothers was running scared. 25. And the men of Israel said, have ye seen the man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killed him, the king will enrich him with great riches and will give him his daughter and make his father's house free in Israel. So he's like, what? All of them consolation prize there, all of those things is what I could get if only I can overcome. You know what I mean? Let me check on everybody. You know, that even though I don't know if David, he just came to the situation. I don't know that he understands the severity of it. But the fact that he just came out and he's seeing what is going on, he seems like intrigued. Like, what? I'm gonna get bitches and I'm gonna get a shorty, you know what I mean? And my father's house is gonna be free. This, I don't know if I could refuse this deal. It's not like he just jumped out and said, yeah, man, why I slew Goliath. They were telling him. That means this conversation had to be on a continuum, right? This conversation had to be on a continuum that this is what Saul is gonna do. After these 40 days, the price started going up. That's my thought, but let's continue here. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killed this Philistine? Oh, no. Right, yeah, right. They were already telling him that. So then he's like, yo, tell me again, what's going to happen? And take away the reproach from Israel. Sorry, bro. What shall be done to the man and take away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Well, who that boy? Who that boy? Oh, that boy. That he should defy the armies of the living God. David is incensed. Okay, he out there with his sheep, going holding a medi and playing his harp in his mind, and he come out here and see madness and foolishness, and he was like, yo, tell me again, if somebody deal with this guy, what y'all gonna do? 27. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. 28. And Eliab, his eldest brothers, heard when he spake unto the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. Here come his brother. Here comes Eliab. Here comes the oldest one. That's the oldest, right? Here comes the one who feel as though, who are you? So he knows David. He was there when David got selected. He was there when he got rejected. He was there to hear the conversation. They coming from the same house, and the hate is coming from his own people. His anger was kindled against David. And he said, where come down here for? Why came down hither? Where you come out here for? Where you want? That's kind of how I heard, the brother saying it. He's vexed with him. And with whom hast you left those few sheep in the wilderness? like you care. Don't you got 6 other brothers? What is 8 of y'all all together? There's only 3 of y'all out there, including Dawid. That's 4. That means 4 other brothers are somewhere. What are they doing? So he was all like acting like he cared, like, where come on, Tafa, and where the sheep them there? And then I know thy pride and the naughtiness of your heart, for you are come down that you may see the battle. First of all, Pop sent me out here. That's number one. Second of all, you already saw my bling. You saw the anointing that the Most High put on. So the brother, just because somebody is related to you, and this is how we get to the healing conversation, right? Just because somebody's related to you and you're familiar to them within this family construct does not mean they're for you, because we don't know what type of feelings they may be carrying because they were rejected. And just in 28 alone, we see that the oldest is not feeling, wait, hold on. Eliab is the oldest. Let me double check because y'all know. Hold on one second. The names of the 3 sons were Eliab. Yeah, Eliab is the firstborn. So Eliab is the oldest. It could be that he's trying to protect his baby brother, but if it be so, then he wouldn't have been. He'd be like, yo, bro, what you doing out here? You know, he wouldn't be barking on him and carrying on, right? 29. And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? He's like, where y'all come for me for? You know, see what I going? You know what I mean? Y'all told me what the 4-1 was. Y'all are telling me what's going on. Why are you coming for me? So they're having a little tiff, okay? Where are we here? And he turned from him toward another and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. Like, yo, anybody will take down that youth here. Trust me, you're all right. You're going to get a shotty. You're going to rich. You trust me. So David is like, he's considering. Right? There are certain things that happened before. I keep saying this. Right now, the children of David, okay, because we know afterwards the story gets wild. But at this point, if it's not written or if it's not communicated, how would the children of David know the conditions by which he married the mother? This is not necessarily say, yeah, you see her and you love her. Let's just talk a relationship, right? You see her and you love her and you wanted to be with her. She was a consolation prize. And this is going to adversely affect things down the line. But right now, all he's seeing when he's counting these costs is the benefits of what he stands to get, right? So let's continue. Okay, 31. And when the words were heard that David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. So they chatting, they talking about women talk, men talk. Clearly, they talk a lot, because when the words were heard, which David spoke, they rehearsed them before Saul. Rehearse mean they come tell Saul, yo, Saul, you know, some one boy out there. And he said, blah, blah, blah. 33, and Saul said to David, you are not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. He was like, yo, you're not ready. You wet behind the ears, fam. Just run along. You know what I mean? You're not the one. 34, and David said unto Saul, so again, there are people who will discount you because of your age, because of just using their natural eyes to say, yo, you're not in the position to do this thing. But if it is from the Creator, then he's going to make a way. But in this case, you have people who mean good, who are going to try to dissuade you from doing certain things that you need to do. Because it will show them up. This young guy is coming in. This little girl, this whatever, fill in the blank, is coming in and trying to show up the captain of the army, this experienced man of war, his older brothers. Like, who do you think you are? So a lot of people talk about generational breaker, curse breaker. There are some people who don't want it to be broken within that familiar structure. So when you come ringing the alarm, when you come making the noise, when you come turning over the table, you are now the enemy, even though the enemy is Goliath. But because they're afraid or unable to defeat Goliath, overcome whatever the issue is, the person who comes pointing it out and is at least has the wherewithal to say, you know what, I'm gonna come and attack this thing. You become the enemy. It's a tricky mind game going on, right? Let's see here. 34. And David said unto Saul, your servant keeps his father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he rose again against me, y'all, sorry, this phone is ringing. Hold on. I forgot to put do not disturb. My bad. Welcome to those who just joined us. I'm almost at the end here, so you're gonna have to catch it on the replay. So David's like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. I've been practicing. You know what I'm saying? It may not be in your sight. This is why sometimes people say it's an overnight sensation, or that person just came out of nowhere. No, that person didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. You weren't paying attention to them, or they were training on some old rocky stuff. They were training in secret, or they were training out of your purview. And so because people don't see the hard work that's happening behind the scenes, or the preparation that's happening behind the scenes, we often think that the person came out of nowhere. The person did not come out of nowhere. So he had to let him know, like, yo, you may not see, but I'm not afraid, because he out here with wild animals. Even his brother could attest, aren't you supposed to be out in the wilderness? So you admit that you sent this little boy out in the wilderness to go against lions and tigers and bears? Aren't you supposed to be outside in the wilderness? Yeah, and there are all of these dangerous things out there, but now y'all telling me that I'm not equipped. This is what, to me, David is saying. But it goes on to say, I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. So David's like, yo, you don't know me, fam. You don't know. You don't know. He's like, yo, I deal with lions. This is in my mind, David is saying. And your servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this, let me see, uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them. David said, wow, lion and bear me slew, and that guy is nothing, seeing he have defied the armies of the living power. Oh God. Okay. To those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. David said, moreover, the Most High that delivered me out of the paw of the lion. You ever faced a lion? Okay. And out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go. And the Most High said, be with me. So again, you may be in a situation where you've come up against a whole lot of opposition. You've dealt with homelessness, or you've dealt with abuse, or you've dealt with domestic violence, or you've dealt with hunger, or you've dealt with depression. You've dealt with all of these things that are these Goliath size, these threats, because a lion and a bear are threats. They're right. A tiger is a threat. Goliath is a threat. So you've dealt with all of these threats. Ultimately, the threats are your threats to your life. Okay. And you've overcome. It's not to say that it won't happen. Is some of us, when we come up against these threats, we have two options. We can be like the army of Israel. We can be in fear and we just hide and hope the threat goes away, and just try to cope with the threat. Or like David, who was like, yo, I seen the threat. I was aware of the threat, and the Creator helped me to prevail and overcome over this threat. And now I'm going to use that knowledge to continue to slew bigger threats. Right? It's not that in both of these situations, the threats are there because this is life, right? These things happen. But let's continue. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We're rolling. So David is like, yo, this is his campaign speech. He's out here. Hey, Karine, what's going on? He's out here like, this is my campaign speech. This is how I'm going to get elected. Y'all don't even know me. Don't even sleep. This is what David is saying. There's a lot of people who know you, like even in the case of David's brothers, they knew him, but they don't know, what he's really capable of, because you only know the person in one capacity. And this becomes the issue sometimes in familiar relationships. You may know the person, but you didn't know the person had a hidden talent. And because now you're seeing something that doesn't match with your picture or your image of the individual, you're going to either as an observer try to minimalize it, or you're just going to be in shock, or you're going to be into radical acceptance and be like, wow, praise be to the Most High, I didn't know you could do that. There's a lot of people who know me in different capacities, know you in different capacities from different walks of life. So maybe I'll come on and do something like this, and if they know the joking me, they're going to be like, what is she doing? This is what we do sometimes when we see other aspects of people we know and love. It's like, it makes me feel uncomfortable. We see that illustrated in the Malcolm X movie, when Malcolm knew Shorty when he used to do robberies with him. Well, Malcolm goes to jail and Malcolm revolutionizes himself. And when he comes out, his old friend cannot relate anymore to the new version of Malcolm. And this is oftentimes where people, either want to tear others down with their mouth, or try to sabotage one another, or try to belittle one another. And the reality is, we are humans. You cannot put us in these boxes. We have all different facets of ourselves, and we should be allowed to grow and expand. And this is oftentimes people come into the season of, I can't deal with this person anymore because this person does not want me to grow and expand. And at which point then the leaf just falls off. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's whatever, unless somebody's trying to sabotage you. Then yeah, of course. It just means that that time and that season is past. Let's continue. Let me see how much time I'm running here. 46. All right. Okay, and Saul armored David. Saul was like, all right, fine, David, I'm not gonna fight with you. Go on. With his armor. First of all, some people are trying to, not only are the people unsure about what it is that you say that you know how to do, now they're trying to doctor the situation. So he's trying to give him his armor and put a helmet on him. That's like someone giving somebody else your vest, or it doesn't fit. Helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a coat of mail. Keep in mind, Saul is the age of David's father. I mean, Saul is much older than David. The fact that you are like, A, afraid of this guy. I understand he's 9'9". B, gonna send this little boy out there, and C's like, no worry, before you go there, come let me fix you up a little bit. It's like, yo, Saul, the Spirit of the Most High has left you, Saul, you tripping. 39. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off of him. Sometimes people are giving us tools that are not our tools. Everything is not for everybody, right? Sometimes people are like, yo, this is how I did it, but that's not necessarily how the other person is going to do it. Because everything, so he's telling him, yo, I haven't even proved them. It's like giving an athlete a brand new set of cleats to run the 100-meter dash in the Olympics on the day at the time when he's supposed to go in his starting blocks. You talking about put them on. I've never run these before. I've never broken them in before. Why would I put those on? Like, what are we doing, Saul? I understand, Saul, you're trying to help, but you're not helping. 41, and the Philistine came out and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. Let me see. Did I jump? Yeah, I jumped. 40. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. He said, nobody with that, son. Me no need none way you try to give me. Just give me a minute. I have to get the video because I came across the video of the guy going to this place. So we're going to get that video so that it can be in your mind what's going on. So there's a brook. The Philistines are on one side of the valley, Elah, and Israelites are on the other side. There's a little stream, a little brooky kind of vibration that's moving through. Now, it's kind of like an amphitheater, according to what I was able to see. And so when your boy is coming out like, yo, come down, come deal with me, they can actually hear him on the other side. So when he goes out and have this conversation with his brothers, he could be like, yo, what, he's inquiring. This is all that's happening. When we come into a situation, he didn't just jump and say, yo, man, go fight him, man. Oftentimes we jump in situations not calm enough to hear what happened. What's the lead up? What is really going on here? Before we get into who we're going to fight and what, especially on social media. The hype is, what? This person said this person said that. Do diligent inquiry. So he did diligent inquiry. He asked around. Then he went to the captain of the guard, which is Saul, and he was like, yo, he's having a conversation with the guy in charge to see whether or not this is something he's going to engage himself in. And then he tried to get the attire that he needed to be able to do the job. Okay. He goes on to say, and the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. It's on now. It's on. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him. Like, that boy, that little idiot boy, this is who you sent? He was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. This little dude, that's an insult. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is big bad Goliath with him big 15-pound spear is looking like, what? Sometimes it's the smallest things that defeat us in life because we think we're big and bad. It says when you haughty, when pride comes before a fall. So when you think that something can't defeat you and you miss out, you miss the cues and the signs because you feel as though you have excelled beyond that. It sometimes be that smallest thing, right? Where are we? Why do I keep losing my space? I need the reader to be like, verse blah, blah, blah. Okay, 43. And the Philistines said unto David, man, this is a long one. No, they didn't say, man, this is a long one. I'm saying, man, this is a long one. Hold on. I'm like, what the? 43. And the Philistines said unto David, am I a dog? Man, me look like dog too. Yo, son, the Bible in my mind is just in patois. Y'all just forgive me. That you come to me with staves, and the Philistine cursed David by his deities. Remember, a lot of these people, even in today's space and time, these are deities, energies behind these people group that are also fighting through people. Okay. Sometimes when somebody presents themselves as your enemy, you just think it's just that person. No, it's the spirit behind that person. It's whatever that person pours their energy into. It's whatever powers that person worship. It's whatever iniquity that person may be doing. And if the person is peaceable and come in love, that's one thing. But if let's say you are minding your business and you ain't troubling nobody, and this person is constantly coming to you as an adversary, they would not be adversarial lest something was wrong. You know what I mean? You can't be against somebody if you're on the same team. So just because you're familiar with the person doesn't mean you're on the same team. Because we saw that in the case of David's brother, Eliab. They're on the same team, but he's against him for whatever their personal reasons are. But let's continue. 44. And the Philistines said unto David, come to me, and I will give you flesh upon the flowers of the air, and he's going to give his flesh. So these are some big threats. Like, these are some big man threats. And one of the things with these type of things that people often say that even in battle, it has made men cowardly because you had to face your opponent. Now people are in ways where they don't have to face the people who you want to do harm to. They can do it from afar off. That kind of disconnects you from what you're actually doing. So in this situation, there's a lot of trash talk going on. So Goliath is like, yeah, come here, boy. This is what I'm going to do to you. 45. Then said David to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Most High of hosts, the power of armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. So David is like big talk right now. This day will the Most High deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you and take your head from you and give you to the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day, onto the fowl of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a power in Israel. So again, this is the epic battle show off going on right here. Let me know if you're following in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Share your thoughts. Are you following this? I'm running a little long. What time now? 54 minutes. 48. And it came to pass when David arose and came and drew nigh to meet David. When it came, the Philistine arose and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. He wasn't even waiting. He was like, yo, you running to me, I'm running to you. Yo, he had an axe to grind, you heard me? And David put his hand in his bag, took thence a stone and slung it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead. And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So sometimes it's not how you think it's gonna go. Because we were using, or they were using their natural eye, and they think they're gonna go hand to hand combat. Naturally they're like, there's no way that David's gonna defeat this dude. However, they did not see beyond. And oftentimes they say sometimes don't tell people your goals or don't tell people your ambitions because they have limited vision. And because they have limited vision, or you may be the person with limited vision, trying to use your natural thought, not to say you're, helping the other individual, but to dissuade them because you don't see how is it possible. These are the things that hold us back in life. These are the things that keep us shook. I mean, if David didn't come along, they would have been there all to this day, okay, waiting for a good old Goliath to die. Because every day you see that this seemingly insurmountable obstacle, and you don't want to face it. You don't want to deal with it. You're going to just keep hiding and hope it go away. And it's taunting you. Let's continue. Yeah, I know I lost my spot again. 50. So David prevailed over Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. Yo, why? I'm continue. But it's not funny, but all I could just think about was cable time. Slew them up here, Felix, them I carry out. Sorry. But there was no sound, sword in the hand of David. So he did it unorthodox. Sometimes we do things in an unorthodox manner, and people can't imagine that you were able to accomplish that because you did not go through the you did not go through the criteria. You didn't go through the charted path, right? And here you are doing things in a manner that it's not normally done. So this is very unorthodox. And the author described is noting he didn't have a sword in his hand. He didn't have, this is what Bible study you go to and somebody just breaks out into 90s dance. Oh, Father, help me. Yo, Karina's laughing. You know that song. I'm trying not to sing it again. Let me continue here. All right. Therefore, David ran and stood upon the Philistines and took his sword and drew it off of his sheath thereof and slew him. Try not to, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, then fled, said, backside, see, no, Goliath dead. Sometimes people, that very thing that we are trying not to face is the only thing that's giving the haters strength. So the strength, in this case, the haters was the Philistines, okay? And the only thing that was giving them this strength to make them big up their chest was Goliath. So when he cut the head off the giant, the people who were rallying behind the giant scattered. So sometimes the very thing that you're trying to avoid is the very thing that you need to do so that you can get past that hurdle and move to another greener pastures, okay? That's what I'm getting from it. Let me know what you're getting from it, okay? Therefore, where were they? All right, he slew them. Don't sing slew. Okay, let me continue. Okay, 52. And the men of Israel, of Judah, arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines. Now them get strength now. Now the little boy, David, who don't know what am doing, where you do, you're supposed to go back to your yard, and right? Now this guy who, by a fluke, although you saw him get anointed, Eliab, you fronting, by a fluke, he's able to overcome your enemy. Now you got strength. Sometimes the thing we don't want to do is the thing we need to do. And what we're praying for, we're praying in vain because the doing is in when we put into action what the Most High has given us the ability to do. Can I get a witness? Why don't I have on my glasses? Where am I? And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until they come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way of Sharamim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. So not only did they run down, David took out Goliath. They chased them up out of town, chased those crazy bald heads up, chased those crazy bald heads out of town. They chased the crazy bald heads out of town, and they went back to their yard, the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. They robbed them. Them take up the man, them things. The other part of that is earlier on, I said that spirits transfer through touch. So you have to be careful. But even though you may have conquered something, you don't want to necessarily go touch and transfer and put on and you rock in such and such thing, because the spirit of those things, the spirit of their powers, their deity, those things, it can come upon you. So this story, although it sounds victorious, as Israel goes on, we're going to see what's happening, okay? And we coming to the end. I want to thank you guys for rocking with me. Again, like I said, I'm tweaking the time. Nasha, welcome to the conversation. I'm tweaking the time a little bit as I'm trying to get me a better schedule. All right. So y'all just rock with me till we find a good time for everybody. Let's continue. And David took the head of the Philistines. Like, this dude is walking around with old boy head, and brought it to Jerusalem. Where did he? And he put his armor in his tent. 55. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistines, and he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this you? Is the evil spirit just giving Saul like Alzheimer's or something? Does he have dementia? How come this is like the third, fourth time he asks who he is? Didn't you know who he is when he was playing you the harp, Saul? Didn't you know who he was when you was talking to him like, yo, son, if you do this? Didn't you know who he was when you put the too big armor on him? You know, some people who pretend like they don't know who you are after they seen you like 3, 4, 5 times. Anyway, and Abner said, as thy soul live, O king, I cannot tell. What you mean you don't know, Abner? Now, y'all tripping a little bit, but we're going to continue. And the king said, inquire thou whose son this stripling is. Okay, this translation, but Abner, why y'all fronting like y'all don't know who Dawid is, yo? There's some people who will see you and they feel away when they see you. I've experienced this. And then they pretend like they don't know who you are. And you just be like, yeah, okay. How you don't know who he is? And this is like the third, fourth time. You asked him to come to your yard. The only other explanation is that there's a conversation about different scribes writing this. And sometimes you have like A and B manuscripts, and then they're mashed together to make one manuscript, because there's no way like 4 times you asked who this guy was. 57, we at the end now. We at the end. We had 1 minute here. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistines in his hand. 58, and Saul said to him, was he now? Let me just read. And Saul said to him, whose son are you, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse the Bethlehemite. And there we are. This is where we have come to. I want to thank you for joining us. Nasha says she's loving the conversation. Thank you for joining us. We're doing a little biblical breakdown here. Again, and the purpose is to refresh our memories of some of the stories that we may have forgotten a far time. And also just really seeing the humanity in the text, seeing how we're very much connected to a lot that's going on. And that, you know, when we really think about it, we can move through the information and learn what we need to know and grow what we need to grow from. I guess next time I'll come, because the time has elapsed now, to take a look at the video to kind of illustrate where this valley is and how it is set up. And also they did an illustration of the slingshot. You're welcome, sis. You're welcome. They did an illustration of the slingshot in this video. So when I find it, maybe I could come and we'll take a look at it. Because some people are like, oh, he hit him in his third eye. Yes, he hit him dead in the center of his forehead. And with enough force, it has been said that this can injure somebody. So David knew where there's like that would be like his Achilles heel to a certain degree. And so again, even though head on a problem, a situation in our lives may look like it's insurmountable, but if we sit back and not try to approach the matter in the way in which we think, like Saul, head on head combat, there may be a way in which you can overcome. And to your surprise, be out here like David, overcoming Goliath. With that said, thank everybody for tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and roll right now. I have some other things to do, and I'll be back again until we get this thing a good day and time. Let me know a good day and time in the box below, and then we'll gather all that data, and then we'll go from there. So with that said, everybody have a blessed day. Go in peace, and we'll see you again. All right. One. Oh, Instagram. All right, Facebook, YouTube. One.